There's a woman sitting across from a documentary filmmaker. She's in prison. She's on death row for over a decade, and she looks directly at the camera and says,
"We have evil in us. All of us do. And my evil just happened to come out because of the circumstances."
and that's Aileen Wuornos, one day before her execution.
And the thing that gets me every time I hear that clip,
She's not wrong.
she's completely right. She's also completely terrifying.
And those two things don't cancel each other out.
Tonight, we're asking a question that doesn't have a clean answer.
Was Aileen Wuornos a monster?
Or did we make her one? Welcome back to the Fear Archive, the show where we dig into the real stories behind the horror that sticks with you.
I'm Amanda.
And I'm Mike.
Tonight we're going deep on one of the most complicated, most debated, most mythologized criminal cases in American history.
This is the story of Aileen Wuornos, a sex worker, serial killer, queer icon, tragedy, and depending on who you ask, victim.
And we're pairing her story with Patty Jenkins' 2003 film, Monster, which gave us one of the most acclaimed performances in cinema history.
Charlize Theron, full transformation, Oscar gold.
We're also going deep on Nick Broomfield's two documentaries. Because if you want to understand Aileen Wuornos, you have to understand the circus that surrounded her.
Content warning up front. We're discussing murder, sexual violence, childhood abuse, capital punishment, and the execution of women.
This one's got a lot of layers.
So many layers.
And our through-line question, the thing that we're going to keep coming back to all episode.
When society creates someone like Aileen Wuornos, does it have the right to execute her?
I mean, let's find out.
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Because if you only know Aileen Wuornos from Monster or from a true crime thumbnail, you're missing about 40 years of context.
Aileen Carol Pittman was born February 29th, 1956 in Rochester, Michigan. A leap year baby.
Which is somehow appropriate. Like the universe couldn't quite commit to her existing.
Her father, Leo Pittman, was a convicted child molester. He was imprisoned for the rape and murder of a 7-year-old girl. He later died by suicide in prison. He never met Aileen.
Her mother, Diane, was 15 when she married Leo, 16 when Aileen was born. She abandoned Aileen and her brother Keith when Aileen was just 4 years old.
So Aileen and Keith were sent to live with their grandparents, Lori and Britta Wuornos, and here's where it gets even worse.
Lori Wuornos was reportedly an alcoholic who physically abused the children.
Aileen later claimed she was sexually abused by a friend of her grandfather's as a young child. She became pregnant at 13. The baby was placed for adoption.
At 15, she was expelled from school. Soon after, her grandmother died. Lori threw her out of the house.
She was only 15 years old, and she was living in the woods, literally surviving in the Michigan wilderness.
Trading sex for food and money to get by.
At 15.
Before we even get to any of the crimes, I just want us to sit with that for a second. 15, living in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about 7 murders, and those murders matter. The victims matter. But the context absolutely matters too.
And by 18, Aileen had moved around. Colorado, Florida. She racked up arrests, DUIs, armed robberies, assault, check forgery, auto theft.
She tried to make a life. She married a 70-year-old retired yacht club president named Louis Fell in 1976 when she was 20. And that lasted 9 weeks.
She got into bar fights. She attempted suicide multiple times. She used her brother Keith's life insurance payout. He died of cancer. To buy a car, which she promptly totaled.
And by 1986, she was in Daytona, Florida, working the highways as a prostitute. And that is where she met Tyria Moore.
24 years old, in a gay bar. And Aileen, who didn't identify as a lesbian, fell completely in love with her.
It's kind of heartbreaking when you watch Monster because the love story, as fictionalized as it is, it feels real.
But we'll come back to Ty.
All right. Fast forward to November 30th, 1989. Aileen Wuornos shoots and kills Richard Mallory, a 51-year-old electronics store owner from Clearwater, Florida. She claims he brutally raped and sodomized her.
And here's the detail that the original trial completely missed.
Mallory had a prior rape conviction. He had served time for rape in another state.
Eileen's original attorney never found that fact. It could have corroborated her self-defense claim for that first murder. It didn't come out until years later.
And by then, it was sadly too late.
Between 1989 and 1990, Aileen killed 6 more men. David Spears, Carl Caxton, Peter Seams, Troy Burris, Charles Humphreys, and Walter Gino Antonio.
She would flag them down on the highway, offer sex, and then shoot them.
She claims they all assaulted or raped her. Law enforcement and prosecutors argued they were robberies. The truth, as with almost everything about this case, is very murky.
And what's not murky is that Aileen was not well. This is a woman who had experienced sustained trauma from infancy, documented abuse, no support systems, no safety net.
And a legal system that was completely not equipped to deal with what she was presenting them with.
In January 1991, police set a trap. They knew who they were looking for. Her girlfriend, Tyria Moore, agreed to cooperate with law enforcement, essentially helping them lure Aileen into confessing over recorded phone calls.
Which, I'm going to be honest, every time I think about that, it makes me feel queasy.
Same.
It's so icky. Aileen was arrested at a biker bar called The Last Resort in Volusia County on January 9th, 1991.
She confessed.
She went to trial for the murder of Richard Mallory in January 1992. Found guilty, death sentence.
And then, and this is where things get really strange, she pled no contest to the other 5 murders. Back-to-back death sentences.
In court, she was furious. There's footage of her screaming at the jury. At one point, she told the prosecutor, and I guess I'm paraphrasing because maybe we're a little bit of a family-friendly podcast.
Oh, fuck no, we aren't.
I know. But she told him to go to hell, basically.
Yeah. She also said in court, and this is a direct quote, "I'm trying to save taxpayers' money. You don't care? You want to press on with the jury and everything else? I try to impress the public."
That was
sorry,
the worst.
Aileen.
That was the worst. that was maybe one of the worst
crazy
you've done in any
That's
episode.
Aileen Wuornos always has a face like this. If you're watching, you can. She's got these like this crazy eyes and scowl. I don't know.
She's always kind of making like a fish face, like her lips are like downturned too. If she's not making that face you were making. Okay. Anyway, but anyway, that might be the most like Aileen Wuornos thing like she had ever said. What you just quoted. She really, if you watch anything that she's done, like the interviews, just footage of her, she really, she's just some.
She was a character.
Yeah, like really a caricature of just a angry human.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, Aileen spent over a decade on death row at Broward Correctional. And during that time on death row, that time is almost as disturbing as the murders themselves.
She was adopted, like legally adopted by an evangelical Christian horse breeder named Arlene Prail, who convinced Aileen to plead guilty because God told her to.
I can't. This is the
no, it's
strangest.
weird.
Yeah,
she was
so
only like
weird.
she was 10 years older than her.
Yeah. I mean, I can't overstate how bizarre the Aileen Prail situation is, and we'll get to it when we talk about the Broomfield docs. So weird.
It was bizarre. I didn't realize that until we were doing this research.
I forgot. Yeah.
In 2001, Aileen petitioned the Florida Supreme Court to waive her remaining appeals and asked to be executed.
In a letter to the court, she wrote, and I'm going to spare you the impersonation this time. Aileen wrote, "I'm one who seriously hates human life and would kill again."
Which is dark, but also, is that real? Or was she just saying what she thought she needed to say to speed up her death? This is also a woman who tried to commit suicide multiple times previously in her life.
Yeah. In a 2001 ABC interview, Aileen said, "I was sentenced to death. I need to die for killing those people."
And yet, her last interview, the day before her execution, is one of the most chaotic, heartbreaking pieces of footage I have ever seen.
Which we'll absolutely get to.
On October 9th, 2002, Aileen Wuornos was executed by lethal injection at Florida State Prison. She was 46 years old. She declined the last meal. All she asked for was a cup of coffee.
Black coffee. No food, just coffee.
And her last words,
which we're totally saving for the very end of this episode.
We're absolutely saving it.
Trust us, they're worth it. Very worth it.
She was the second woman executed in the state of Florida and the 10th woman executed in the United States since capital punishment was reinstated in 1976.
So when we ask, did society have the right to execute her?
That's the real through line. That's the question we're carrying all the way to the end of this episode. Before we get into Monster and the docs, we need to talk about the coverage, because the media coverage of Aileen Wuornos is its own special kind of horror.
Yeah, this was 1991, pre-internet. You had tabloid TV, you had local news, you had the first true crime boom hitting mainstream America.
I know. I just imagine the magazine racks at the, grocery stores, like the Globe and the National Enquirer are probably having it on the front. But,
I wonder if she was ever on a serial killer trading card. Do you remember those?
No, of course you do. Did you have them?
No, I didn't. I was actually scared of them as a kid. I was scared of the serial because they always had like a picture of Gacy in like full on clown makeup. But I think, she had to have been on one of them. I don't know. Someone drop it in the DMs. Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like suddenly we have a female serial killer, which statistically is incredibly rare.
Yeah. So the FBI had literally never developed a profile for a female serial killer before Aileen Wuornos. She was the first person to fit what they'd been calling a highway killer profile, but was a highway killer who was a woman.
And everybody lost their minds.
Yeah, in like the way that only early 90s media can lose its mind. And like for reference of how this is characterized or lampooned to an extent, see Natural Born Killers. That was like literally every serial killer caught in the early 90s. Yeah.
Lesbian serial killer. That was the headline, like repeatedly. I'm sure like what I was just saying, like it's probably like on like all of the like tabloid fucking magazines at the grocery store.
Yeah, they were like really leaning into the lesbian part too. Like that was the alarming part, like not the fact that she killed a whole bunch of men.
It's so fucked up. Like
Anyway, this does bring us to something we do have to address, Amanda. Like head on here. The gender dynamic of this entire case. It's like impossible to talk about Aileen Wuornos without talking about what it means to be a woman who kills.
Mm-hmm. And specifically what it means to be a woman who kills men. This was reminder, this is the 80s and the 1980s. Like this is...
Well, late 80s into
the 90s. It was just when women were like really having their own careers popping off, and it was, modern day women. So
right.
The attack on men was real.
Right, like the
air quotes.
What was it?
I'm doing air quotes for people who can't see me.
Yeah, well, like even like the zeitgeist with the media at the time too. Like Designing Women and what was the other one? Murphy Brown and women taking charge in the
Modern
workplace.
woman. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we have a modern female serial killer here.
Hmm.
So it was a big thing. That societal framework. It's not subtle anywhere in the story. Female violence was traditionally treated differently. You either were a black widow, like killers like Belle Gunness. She was I don't know. I don't know when Belle Gunness was from. I think like probably the 30s or the 40s.
Hmm.
But you had like this black widow who was manipulating men from the shadows, or you're a victim who snapped, or you're just a monster who broke every rule of how women were supposed to behave.
And Aileen was awkward for the media because she didn't fit neatly into any of those boxes.
Yeah. Poor Aileen, indeed. She was a wild card. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't seductive in a conventional way. She was angry and loud and said whatever the fuck was in her head.
Yeah, no filter. It made her hard to sell, but they sold her anyway.
Mm-hmm. And the comparison case, I at least keep thinking of in my mind, and I do think we have to talk about her for a moment, is Karla Faye Tucker.
Yes, absolutely.
So, dear listeners, if you do not know, Karla Faye Tucker was executed in Texas in February of 1998, 4 years before Aileen was. She was executed for a pickaxe double murder that she committed in 1983.
Yeah, and here's the thing. In terms of sheer brutality of the actual crime, what Karla Faye Tucker did was objectively more graphic than anything Aileen Wuornos did.
And yet, Karla Faye Tucker had infamous televangelist and host of the 700 Club, Pat Robertson, campaigning for her life. Pope John Paul II, even the Indigo Girls wrote a song about her.
She was the first woman executed in Texas since the Civil War, and it was international news for months.
Because by the time of her execution, Karla Faye Tucker had converted to evangelical Christianity. She married a prison chaplain, and she presented herself as a reformed, soft-spoken, deeply remorseful woman of God.
She was, by every media metric, easier to look at.
And Aileen Wuornos was not. Aileen was loud. Aileen was angry. Aileen claimed she was victimized, and she kept claiming it even when it was inconvenient, even when it made her look worse, even when dropping the claim might have helped her. She just kept going.
George W. Bush's spokesperson, when refusing to commute Karla Faye Tucker's sentence, said, and this is a direct quote, "The gender of a murderer did not make any difference to the victims."
Which is true. And also completely missing the point of why gender matters in these cases.
Gender matters not to the victims. Gender matters to the systems that processes these women. It matters to the media. It matters to who gets a Pat Robertson and who gets the headline that reads lesbian serial killer.
And I just wanna jump in really quick. I was way off about Belle Gunness, by the way. It was the ass end of the 19th century into 1908 when she killed. Sorry about that. Back to Aileen, though.
Yeah.
Aileen didn't perform femininity correctly enough to earn the kind of sympathy that might have saved her.
Yeah, which is a sentence that I find genuinely chilling.
Yeah, I would argue the beating heart of this entire case is rooted in that. It's so fucked up.
Now, the docs, because we cannot talk about Aileen Wuornos without talking about Nick Broomfield, who is either the hero of the documentary filmmaking or the world's most opportunistic filmmaker, depending on your read of it.
I have strong opinions on Broomfield.
I mean, yeah, I do too. So let's go.
All right. So Nick Broomfield, he's a British documentary filmmaker. You may know him from the documentary Kurt and Courtney, or the documentary Biggie and Tupac, or just from his signature style, which involves him showing up places with a boom pole, getting told to leave, and refusing to do so.
He made 2 films about Aileen. The first is Aileen Wuornos, The Selling of a Serial Killer from 1992. The second is Aileen, Life and Death of a Serial Killer from 2003.
And the titles tell you everything you need to know about the arc.
The first film, The Selling of a Serial Killer, came out while Aileen was still on trial. And it's extraordinary, but not for the reasons you expect.
It's not really about Aileen.
It's about everyone around her.
Her adoptive mother, Arlene Prale, who was a born-again Christian horse breeder who legally adopted a 40-something-year-old woman on death row and then started going on talk shows, charging appearance fees, and generally conducting herself in a way that makes your fucking skin crawl.
And her lawyer, Steve Glazer, who called himself Dr. Legal in television ads.
The man was charging Aileen for legal representation while simultaneously selling his own story to the media. Real nice guy.
So icky. Broomfield essentially exposes a feeding frenzy around a woman who is about to be executed. Everyone's getting a piece. Everyone's got an angle. Everyone's chasing it. And
the most disturbing part of this all is that Aileen knew it. On some level, she knew this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my family is from Orlando, and I called my stepdad up, and I was talking to him specifically about the case and everything. And the thing he described about it, he said, yeah, it was horrible the way that they depicted it. Like, no one, like, who cares if she's lesbian? Like, you're making a mockery of this person, and it was everywhere. It was all over the news. It's all the news could talk about. It was like new interviews coming out like every single week. Yeah. So, and think about it, like that's the only place you could really get news and information from. So that's what everyone's just being fed. And it was literally the talk of the town.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that.
There's footage in the first documentary of Aileen in court saying things that make you realize she's not as confused about what's happening to her. She's actually furious about it.
Yeah, Broomfield he gives a brief interview with Aileen in the first film, and you can see it. This complicated, damaged, charismatic woman who's been completely swallowed by a system and a media circus that has zero interest in her as a person. She's just Aileen the spectacle.
The first doc was included in the 1001 movies you must see before you die list, which I think is actually correct. It is a genuinely important piece of filmmaking.
Now, the second documentary, Life and Death of a Serial Killer, came out in 2003, right when Monster was in theaters. It's a different beast entirely.
Broomfield was subpoenaed to testify at Eileen's final competency hearing because his first documentary had been used by the defense. They argued it showed her original lawyer was incompetent and self-serving, which, well, yes, he very much was.
Yeah, and so Broomfield found himself back in Florida with cameras and his boom pole, making a second film about Aileen.
This one is harder to watch than the first because by 2002, Aileen was not okay.
She claims she's being tortured in prison, that guards are using sonic pressure to control her mind, that she's being poisoned.
And the question the film keeps asking is this paranoid delusion? Or is she describing, in the only language available to her, a system that has genuinely been grinding her down for 10 years?
So Jeb Bush, the then governor of Florida, ordered a competency examination that lasted reportedly about 15 minutes. She was found competent to be executed.
15 minutes.
To determine whether a woman was of sound enough mind to legally kill.
Broomfield filmed an interview with Aileen the day before her execution. And she turns him on. She says...
Turns him on? I'm sorry. She turns...
on him. I read it wrong.
I hope she doesn't turn on Broomfield. I mean, that would be unethical. Well, I mean, maybe not.
Well, I mean, was a profession for years.
Yeah.
Professional. Okay. She turns on him.
Yeah.
just by dyslexia. Okay. I just imagined him with like a boner in his boom mic. Okay.
That is his boom mic.
His boomstick. All right.
Yeah. He's like, now make sure you talk real loud into my crotch.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Pull it together. Okay. Broomfield filmed an interview with Aileen the day before her execution, and she turns on him. She says, close to a direct quote, "You sabotaged my ass. Society and the cops and the system. A raped woman got executed and was used for books and movies and shit."
And then she delivers what became her final on-camera words before the execution chamber. "Thanks a lot, society, for railroading my ass."
I mean,
she's not wrong.
No, she's not wrong. And that's the most uncomfortable part of this entire case.
Now, Broomfield's not without controversy here. Some critics, and they're valid, they argue that he's doing the exact same thing he's criticizing Arlene Prowl for. He's making money off Eileen's story. He became a character in her life, this fixture, arguably someone who did have an effect on her outcome.
He was also used as a witness, which blurs the line between journalist and participant in a way that's genuinely ethically complicated.
Now, for the second doc, singer Natalie Merchant allowed the use of her song Carnival in the closing credits after she found out that it was Eileen's favorite song. She apparently spent hours listening to that album on death row.
Yeah, that's just like, it just destroys me. It's I don't know. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is really sad. I do know there's a quote from Natalie Merchant where she says at first she was terrified and disgusted that Aileen loved that song so much, but then she was humbled by the fact that the song was able to bring her such peace. So, it really, really sad. So after her death, Eileen's ashes were scattered under a tree in Michigan by her childhood friend Dawn Botkins, the same Dawn Botkins who had stayed in contact with her throughout everything.
One friend. Through it all, just one.
So, to our through line, when society creates someone like Aileen Wuornos, does it have the right to execute her?
Just keep that in your head. We're going to come back to that.
Okay, Monster, 2003, written and directed by Patty Jenkins.
Her feature directorial debut.
On a budget of $1.5 million.
It's not a lot. $1.5 million.
No, and it grossed $64 million worldwide and launched two careers, Jenkins and Theron, who was already famous, but this was like the thing that made people take her seriously as an actress.
Yeah, before we talk about the film itself, let's talk about how this got made, because the production story is almost as interesting as the film.
Yeah. So Patty Jenkinson made two short films. That's it. So up until this, two short films. And she wanted to make a movie about Aileen Wuornos.
She wrote the screenplay in just 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
She corresponded with Aileen on death row and was given access to hundreds of personal letters Wuornos had written. Jenkins actually spoke with Aileen directly, which is remarkable given that by 2002, Aileen was not exactly welcoming journalist.
Yeah, and Jenkins apparently approached the material with genuine empathy, not in a let's excuse the murders way, but in a let's understand the entire human being kind of way. And I think that comes through in every frame of this film.
Yeah. Jenkins saw Charlize Theron in The Devil's Advocate and knew she was the one.
Yeah, Theron read the script, loved it, and founded Denver and Delilah Productions specifically to help produce this film. She put her own money and credibility behind it, so big deal.
Yeah, and then Charlize does what she usually does, is commit absolutely and completely to this terrifying role.
Yeah, she gained somewhere between 20 and 30 pounds. She shaved her eyebrows. She wore prosthetic teeth.
And that's the easy part to talk about because it's the visible transformation. But the real work is what she does internally.
Roger Ebert, upon release, called her performance one of the greatest performances in the history of cinema. He named Monster the best film of 2003.
And in 2009, he named it the third best film of the entire decade.
For Best Actress at the 2004 Academy Awards, Charlize Theron won on what would have been Aileen Wuornos' birthday. So, wow.
February 29th, a leap year.
The universe is committing this time.
The film itself opens with Eileen's narration. This voiceover pulled from her actual letters. She says she always wanted to be in the movies.
Which is, given the context, given everything, either poetic or devastating. They're both.
Probably both. The film covers Eileen's story from around 1989 through her arrest. It does not cover her death row, but that's Brimfield's territory.
Jenkins made some choices that were worth discussing. Tyria Moore becomes Selby Wall, played by Christina Ricci. Name and likeness were changed for legal reasons. Moore was still alive and cooperating with law enforcement.
Kate Hudson was originally offered the Shelby role and turned it down.
Which, can you imagine?
Honestly, no, but maybe.
Yeah.
Christina Ricci, who had spent years shedding her child actress image with the films like Buffalo 66 and Prozac Nation, is extraordinary in it. But she and Theron gained weight for the roles.
And it is worth saying, Selby Wall and Tyria Moore are not the same person. Not even close.
Like, the differences are significant enough that calling Selby based on Tyria Moore is doing a lot of work.
You know, the most obvious thing is the timeline. The film presents their relationship as this immediate, all-consuming whirlwind that happens right before the killings start. Like, Selby is almost the inciting event.
In reality, Aileen and Tyria Moore had been together for 4.5 years before the first murder. They were living together. It was a long-term relationship.
Which changes the whole shape of the story. It's not a woman who meets someone and spirals. It's a woman who had a life, a home, a person she loved, and still ended up on the highway with a gun.
The film also plays Selby as a kind of fragile, financially dependent, slightly lost young woman. Christina Ricci, bless her, is playing someone who feels like she was swept up in something she didn't understand.
Yeah, and Tyria Moore was anything but. Tyria Moore was openly gay, financially independent, working as a motel maid. She was not a passive participant in their life together.
And the film strongly implies this is Eileen's first relationship with a woman, like she's discovering this whole part of herself through Selby.
Which is also not accurate. By the time Aileen met Moore, she'd already been in a relationship with a woman. She identified as a lesbian.
So why does the film change all of that?
Part of it's legal. Moore was reportedly litigious. Jenkins has said that the screenplay had to pass through a platoon of lawyers. Everything about Selby had to be different enough that Moore essentially couldn't sue.
And part of that is also dramatic, making Selby younger, more vulnerable, more naive. It makes her more sympathetic. And the film needs you to feel something for Selby because Selby is partly who Aileen is killing for.
If you show the real Tyria Moore, someone who knew after the first murder, kept taking the money, pawned stolen goods from victims, and then cooperated with the police to save herself, she walked away with a book deal, for Christ's sake.
And that's a much harder person to root for.
Yeah, I mean, she's totally a villain, too. And it makes Eileen's love look less like devotion and more like...
exploitation?
Totally. Which might actually really be closer to the truth.
And that is a truth the film is not interested in telling.
So the film, let's get into the production aspects of it. It was shot in Florida, Daytona, parts of Sanford, Orlando, and Castleberry. Jenkins cast people who had actually known Aileen in small roles. And she shot in locations where the real Aileen had been.
Which is funny because rewatching the film for this, I lived in Central Florida for a period of time between 2005 and 2009. the place where they ride the go-karts, that's a place called Fun Spot in Orlando. Like, I've ridden on that go-kart track. And I clocked other places too that are places I had been. But anyway, it made it all like feel a little more real, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and you could really feel it. Like, the film has this specific texture, grimy, humid, neon lit, and exhausted feel. It looks like Florida in the late 80s.
Oh man, yeah. Totally. I could smell every location in that movie too.
Really?
The dampness and the fried foods and I don't know. One of the genuinely I don't mean to sidetrack this too much, but something that Jenkins does so well in this film, the representation of the victims.
Yeah, this is crucial.
You know, and I feel like this is just, I'm recognizing this, that in most of these films about serial killers, the victims are just like props, right? They exist to be killed. But I feel like Patty Jenkins, she like refuses to do that with Monster. Each victim in Monster is a 3-dimensional human being. You know, some of them are genuinely dangerous and abusive towards Aileen. Some of them are decent people who happen to pick up the wrong hitchhiker. You know, she nails that.
Yeah, and it's
in her
that
filmmaking.
yeah, it's that ambiguity that is the entire moral engine of the film. It refuses to let you watch comfortably. You understand why Aileen killed Richard Mallory. You do not understand why she killed Walter Antonio. And Jenkins makes you sit with both of these things.
Yeah, and I mean the scenes themselves. You know, the last guy she kills, that scene always really upset me. I think it's just always just such a difficult scene to watch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you really, I don't know.
No, I agree.
But
I feel like she almost portrayed it like she didn't want to do it.
right,
She was just doing it because she had to. She didn't know. She
Isn't
didn't
he
know
like, he's like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this.
Yeah,
And she does it.
yeah, you know, I think it's, from my perspective, how I interpreted it, you know, she didn't know how else to live, you know? That's how,
Yeah.
at least in the film, that's how it's portrayed. Like, she had been a sex worker for so long that's all her entire life, basically. She didn't know what else to do.
No. You know, we'd be remiss too if we didn't discuss actor Bruce Dern, the great Bruce Dern.
Mm-hmm.
He's in this film. He plays a character named Tom. He's this older man who is like one of the few people who shows Aileen this genuine kindness, almost like in like a paternal way. Small role, but it's the one moment of light in just an otherwise abysmal, bleak film.
Ebert wrote that Theron's Aileen doesn't know how to occupy her body. She's constantly making these nervous adjustments, straightening her arms, touching her hair, handling her cigarettes like a 13-year-old trying to look cool. He said there's only one moment in the film where she looks completely at peace.
Yeah, the roller skating scene to Journey. It's like Don't Stop Believing. And
yeah. She's falling in love and roller skating and hearing Journey, and she is, for 4 minutes, a person who could have a completely different life.
Then the song ends. Is there a criticism of the film, Amanda?
I mean, yeah, there is, and it's a very valid one.
So, Patty Jenkins portrays Wuornos more sympathetically than some feel is warranted.
Critics who knew the real case argued that Theron's Aileen never quite captures the genuine instability, the full, disturbing reality of a woman you see in Broomfield's documentaries.
Watching them back to back is a genuinely like disorienting experience too, because look, the Aileen in the docs and the Aileen in the film are related, but they're not the same. One is a character, one is a person.
Yeah, and a person is always more complicated than a character.
So, what does Monster do that matters?
I mean, I think it asks you to care about someone you're supposed to hate.
I think it succeeds.
And that's genuinely radical.
Charlize Theron used the Broomfield documentary to prepare for the role, watching clips between takes to stay in character. So in a strange way, the documentary and the film are in conversation with each other.
Yeah, a circle of interpretation. Broomfield filmed Aileen. Theron watched Broomfield's film. Theron became Aileen. The real Aileen was dead before Monster opened.
She never saw it.
She never fucking saw it.
And yet somehow, it still feels like her story.
Which might be the whole point.
All right, let's zoom out.
Because this isn't just about a woman.
Or a film.
Or even a case.
It's about a question.
Our through line, the thing we've been carrying since minute one.
When society creates someone like Aileen Wuornos, does it have the right to execute her?
And I want to be careful here because society created Aileen Wuornos can sound like an excuse, right? It's not an excuse. 7 people are dead.
Their families are real.
And their loss is very real.
And none of that disappears.
But here's what I keep coming back to. Aileen Wuornos was born into circumstances so catastrophic that a social worker today would have flagged her family before she was out of diapers.
Absent parent, incarcerated father, abusive grandfather, pregnant at 13, on the streets at 15. Jeez.
I know, not a single functioning support structure, ever, at any point.
And the response of American society across every institution she encountered was, "You're on your own, kid."
Until she killed someone. And then suddenly everyone had something to say about the whole situation.
They always do. Suddenly there were book deals, movie deals, an adoptive mother, 10 years younger than her, who bred horses, a documentary filmmaker, all kinds of stuff.
A lawyer who called himself Dr. Legal on television.
Everyone wanted a piece of Aileen Wuornos when she was famous for murder.
And this connects directly to the Carla Faye Tucker comparison.
Because the question, does society have the right to execute the people it failed to protect, doesn't get asked about Carla Faye Tucker either.
Tucker had Pat Robertson. She had good PR. She performed femininity and repentance in a way the system could absorb.
Aileen didn't perform anything. She was raw and loud and uncontainable.
And I think that's why she's still fascinating. Not because of murders, because of that. Because she refused to make it easy for anyone to put her in a box.
And because she was right about something.
She was. She said in the final interview, a raped woman got executed and was used for books and movies and shit.
And here we are, 2 people, podcast.
Look, we're very aware of the irony.
We're not claiming to be outside the cycle she's describing.
The Broomfield films are in that cycle. Monster is in that cycle. We are in that cycle.
But maybe the most honest thing we could do with that awareness is not pretend it away.
And just sit with it.
Ask the question anyway.
Does society have the right to execute the people it built?
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does either.
And I think Aileen knew that.
Which is why she kept saying it, even when no one wanted to hear it.
Right up until the very end. All right, Aileen, poor Aileen. I just keep saying that because there's a... Or don't. Because she'll kill you.
Stupid. Turned him on. I can't even believe I said that. Okay.
That's all right.
Can I ask you a question before we close out here?
Yeah, totally.
Did Aileen Wuornos have the right to execute herself? To waive her appeals, fire her lawyers, and choose the needle? And if she did, does her consent change your answer to the question we've been asking all episode? When society creates someone like Aileen, does it have the right to execute her?
You know, I believe that I believe in free will. Like, I like to think that we have free will. Yeah, I mean, Aileen totally has the right to execute herself. It was on her own volition. She wanted to go. You know, she wanted off this planet. I and that's still like a very tricky question to answer though. But like I don't know, like if Aileen didn't do what she did or like didn't instigate things the way she did, I still think she would have been executed at the same time. I really don't think she had. I don't think she had complete agency in speeding up her execution. I just think that I think that it was a media circus. I think the state recognized that. I but back to that question, does the state have the right to execute her? No, I think that the state, the systems in general failed Aileen. I think Aileen was completely failed
I agree.
by the system. I think that the system allowed her creation in the same regard. I think that their lack of support at a earlier age led to the Aileen Wuornos we ended up with. Like I think that if Aileen had better access to supports, she would have turned out differently. She might still have, might still be alive. Completely different path. Like that movie Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow, right? Like if you go in this door,
I agree. I think she had every right to choose it. And I think that's why it's so devastating, because it's like the system failed her since birth, and like she never had control over anything ever. And like they finally gave her one thing she could decide for herself. And the choice was when to die. And it's not like, it's not justice.
Right.
I think
but it's also like, I'm sorry.
No, that's the complete failure of the whole thing, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
I keep saying throughout this whole thing, poor Aileen. There's a band that I really like called Super Heaven. And if you've never checked them out before, check them out. But they have a song called Poor Aileen that's about Aileen Wuornos. And, I just have been thinking I've been thinking a lot about, as we've been doing the research for this episode, that was the soundtrack to this the entire time. But I feel she's such a tragic figure. Aileen Wuornos is such a tragic figure. And while she did murder innocent people, and we always got to remember the victims, and they are victims, right? She's a victim herself. Aileen was a victim herself. And I really do feel for the lady. And I hope she is at peace wherever she is, whether that's in the dust or the ether or in some sort of afterlife or wherever. I hope she finally found the peace that she deserved.
Yeah, I agree. It's tragic.
So where's this leave us?
I'll tell you, with a woman who became more famous in death than she ever was in life.
So where's this leave us?
With a woman who became more famous in death than she ever was in life.
And would have found that deeply unfair.
Aileen Wuornos has become a cultural icon in a way that nobody planned, and that is deeply strange.
Charlize Theron won an Oscar playing her on her birthday, on Aileen's birthday.
Lily Robb played a version of her on American Horror Story Hotel. Sarah Paulson is set to portray her in the upcoming 4th season of Ryan Murphy's Monster Anthology series.
Keeps coming back to Ryan Murphy.
Ryan Murphy.
We want to pitch to you. There have been operas, academic papers, poems, that Super Heaven song. Aileen's been claimed by queer culture, by feminist theory, by anti-death penalty activists. She lives on.
Yeah, there's a reading of Aileen Wuornos in which she is a survivor who fought back.
There's a reading in which she's a deeply mentally ill woman who needed help that never came.
And there's a reading in which she's a cautionary tale about what happens when society abandons its most vulnerable.
There's a reading in which she's just a person who killed people, and the explanation doesn't make it okay.
And all those readings can be true simultaneously.
That's the thing about Aileen Wuornos. She resists reduction.
And maybe that's why we can't stop telling her story.
Because she's not a parable. She's a person. And people are inconvenient.
Now, we promised you something.
Oh, we did.
Aileen Wuornos, October 9th, 2002, Florida State Prison.
She declined a last meal. She asked for a cup of coffee. Black coffee, nothing else.
And when they say if she had any final words,
she did. And this is what Aileen Wuornos said as her last words on this earth.
Should I do an accent?
Go for it.
Yes, I would just like to say I'm sailing with the rock, and I'll be back like Independence Day with Jesus, June 6th, like the movie. Big mothership and all, I'll be back. I'll be back.
Amazing.
Was it stupid?
No, that was awesome. I think Aileen would be proud. Aileen, by the way, she was referencing the 1996 Will Smith movie, Independence Day.
She was. She definitely was.
Yeah, she thought she was coming back with Jesus in a spaceship on the anniversary of D-Day.
Which is the most metal exit in the history of capital punishment.
Yeah. That's a woman who, like, right up until the end, absolutely refused what anyone expected of her.
Black coffee. No food. I'll be back. Big mothership and all.
I mean, honestly?
Honestly.
Respect.
Yeah.
All right, Aileen. Sending you peace, girl. This has been the Fear Archive.
If you enjoyed this episode, please follow, rate, and share it with someone who has strong opinions about documentary ethics.
There's someone who's currently reconsidering their relationship to the true crime industrial complex.
We'll be back soon with another story that asks more questions than answers it.
Until then,
don't pick up any hitchhikers.
And if society fails you catastrophically, at minimum, leave behind some unforgettable last words.
Big mothership and all.
You've been listening to The Fear Archive, hosted by Amanda Kagawada and Michael Ryan Aesop, produced by Cassie Josephove, with original music by Umberto. This podcast is a production of Violet Hour Media.